I'm thinking about what is our real core value. What is the thing you would say is the thing, will not let go. This is the thing at the heart of it all. What is that? Got an answer? This is the Takeout. I'm Jeremy. I'm pastor at communitychurchumc.org. I'm so glad you're here. Let's think about that main thing, that main value. You know, we believe that all people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, that might be a core value. It might be an American core value. But how are we doing with that core value? Whatever a core value is. It sounds like something you teach about in business school. So, core values, you know, the things that actually shape us, then become the things that we give away to others. And we give them away by how we act and how we talk about things, and how we show our own priorities. What's your top priority? What's the biggest thing? What matters most? And can you sum it up in just a few words? Man, I don't know. I got so many. So let's think through some of the options. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is certainly an option. We believe that somehow me having life, that seems like a good thing. Yeah, all of us want to stay alive. Me having liberty, because liberty is way better. I mean, life's a lot better with liberty. Of course, Jefferson, who wrote those words, I'm not sure how he felt about slavery there. Well, that's awkward. So, liberty for some. Okay, that's awkward. So then there's a sort of internal conflict. I've got this thing I say is really important. Oh, I love God most. Oh, I love you most. Oh, I love this most. I love cherry pie most. Whatever it is you like most. There's always a compromise. There's always a moment when you go, I'm not sure that's the thing. I have to say no to that so I can have this. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Okay, one set of choices. And sometimes the pursuit of happiness in America has been sort of converted in our minds into the right to make as much money as I want, regardless of whether that's good for everybody else, good for society, whether it's even good for me. I have the right to pursue as much miserable unhappiness through the having of money as I can possibly get away with. Even if my getting rich means that other people get poor. That's not good. We've got all these ideas about how to, how to prosper. There are churches trying to tell people if they, prosper, if they give more, then they'll get more. This is a stupid idea, and it has nothing to do with the Bible, though they quote little bits of Bible here and there and pretend that that's somehow Christian. No, it's not, but that's all right. I'm just me, and they're allowed to be wrong. So, what's your core value? I remember my brother being so taken by the fact this one guy who owned our apartment building was a millionaire. And that became his core value for a little while. It didn't remain that. I'm really glad. He wanted to do good things. He wanted to make a difference in the world, and so he's still doing that. Thank goodness. And that's awesome. And I know people whose goal is to be a great musician or to be famous, or people who want to be better known, who want to be more excellent, people who just want to be happy. And that becomes a core value. That becomes the thing that drives me. The thing that drives me is that no one gets to tell me what to do. What a kind of pathetic core value that is, that I get to do whatever I want. And yet, some of us in America have interpreted life, liberty, pursuit of happiness as just that thing. If I don't know what my core values are, then I'm not going to be very good at passing them on, right? I might go online and Google the question, what are the most important things to, for instance, teach your children? And then I would find a lot of people expressing a lot of opinions, making lists. 5 things to teach your kid by the time they're 5, 10 things to teach them by the time they're 10, 59 things to teach them when you really get bored. So where do they come up with the list? It doesn't, I don't know, it's all a little random. It has to do with, getting them motivated and learning the value of hard work and other boring things that parents tell us. And learning perseverance and all kinds of character that's going to serve us well in the workplace. And, they don't talk about the real values they're trying to teach, which are the value of conformity and the value of fitting in at all costs, the value of looking like everybody else, the things that parents really teach children. Am I being rude? I don't know. We also teach our kids things about love, about self-worth, and these are important. You want to know what the Bible says? Because for some reason I've decided, fairly early in life that what the Bible said actually should be important, and I should actually look at it and see what it says. Deuteronomy 6 is maybe the most important verse in the whole Old Testament. And the traditional translation of Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 4 is this phrase, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our only God." And there's a lot of ways you can turn that translation. Listen, Israel. We only have one God, the Lord. And that's what they would say is the one thing. That is the bedtime prayer, the bedtime Shema. It's called the Shema, which is just the first word, hear. It's the bedtime thing to say. And whatever that bedtime thing is to say, that must be the really important thing. It is the thing that old wizened rabbis say. It is the thing that old people dying have to say before they die. It becomes the absolute minimum script for a Jew. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. Listen, Israel. We have one God, the Lord. So that's their core value. Or maybe beyond core value, it's what they would say was their core truth. Then it goes on to say this thing about that. It goes on to say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. Love. And that's what Jesus says was the most important commandment. That one right there. And then it says this. It says, teach your children. Teach your children this. Memorize it. Remember memorizing? Nobody memorizes anymore. I hate memorizing. I was terrible at that. That's why I could never make it in drama. Memorize it. And then it goes on. Talk about it when you're walking and working. Talk about it. Make your kids repeat it. Make this so important you can't get away from it, and it never will slip away. This is that important. This is the one thing. This is the one thing. The thing that matters. If you ask a Jew what's the most important thing, the answer they ought to give you, if they're conservative, if they're Orthodox, if they're even paying attention as Jews, pretty much the answer is, the most important thing is the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one God. I've given you about 17 different translations so far. But I'm taken by the thing after it. Teach your children. That's huge. Because what do I teach? And whether or not you have kids, it's like I said at the beginning, we teach all the people around us. We convey to everybody. If you are a leader, if you are a boss, if you are a coworker, if you are a subordinate, an employee, if you are just a schmo, you know somebody, and what you say makes a difference. And so all of us are responsible for this whole teaching people. And if I have something at my core, then my chances of passing it on are better. If I don't know what my core is, if I have no particular center, no thing that is my, absolute hold on to at all costs, if I don't have one of those, what have I got to offer? Who am I? I think we then end up teaching a lot of things that we don't mean. If we spend all our time focusing on our money and making more money and making more money, then what does everyone come to hear from us? They hear that money is the most important thing there is. That's all there is. Like violence. We pass on values like retribution. We pass on greed. We pass on selfishness. We pass on self-righteousness. We pass on all those kind of things. And we don't even think about it. So way back in the 60s, a famous photographer took a picture of a kid in Central Park who looked just as lost and awkward as a kid could look, but he was holding a toy grenade. Well, somebody gave him that toy, maybe the photographer, I don't know, maybe she was the guilty party, but someone put this toy in his hand, and then he's got to sort of imagine, what do I do with this toy grenade? What do I say about it? What do I think about it? Now I have it. He looked a little lost. I think we present kids with a lot of things that make them feel a little lost. We present kids with all kinds of messages and all kinds of possibilities that really are beyond what they ought to be able to deal with. Still working on tying shoes, and we're giving them, toy grenades to think about. To say nothing of toy guns, which would be a whole other conversation with a bunch of you, and that's another conversation. There was a famous person who saw that photograph. It was Graham Nash. And Graham Nash was a musician who was at the time playing with a band called the Hollies. I love the Hollies. This is so far before my time. This is my little kid music. Little kid. I didn't even get to listen to rock and roll back then. And then he joined a band called Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I think it was just CSN first. And they sang this song, Teach Your Children Well. He said, you along the road must have a code that you can live by. Yeah, and so become your dreams. And it goes on, you must have a code, you must have something, and you must choose it, and then you pass it on. And the thing that scares us will probably scare our children. The thing that made us and shaped us, for good, for bad, that will probably be a huge part of making and shaping our children as well. And making and shaping all the people over whom you have influence. You do have influence. The thing you want to give to your kids, the thing you want to give to the people around you is love. You want to give them a firm foundation. You want to give to everybody clarity about what it is you believe and what you're up to. You want to give all that. We're not always good at giving that, but give that anyway. So Graham Nash wrote that song, Teach Your Children. And I listened to that song over the years. I never paid all that much attention, but I realized there's something weird in here. What's going on? It's because he saw that photograph that he realized someone was giving this kid values. In the time of Vietnam, there's a lot of kinds of mixed messages about war and what it's good for, and what, glory versus shame and all these things. Oh, it was awkward. It was a difficult time. And Graham Nash was struck by that, wrote about it, shared that with us, and observed that we pass on hell to our kids sometimes, just like we might pass on good things. Let's pass on love. Let's pass on, for instance, the Shema, the thing that it says you have to tie it on your forehead, wear it, put it on the doorposts of your house, put it everywhere, memorize it, have it constantly present. Touch your doorpost as you're going out, so you make sure you keep in touch with that core value. What's the thing that's that important to you? Jesus says the most important commandment is love God. And the second is like it, love your neighbor. I said that last week. I might say it again next week. It's the most important thing, and we get so off track and talk about all the other stuff. The life, the liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the money, the sex, the power, the alcohol, the drugs, the new experiences, the not getting left out, all of those things. Here, listen up, people. Love Lord first. I hope you get something to take home. Great to have you here. This is The Takeout, and I'm Jeremy. Do keep in touch.